Welcome everyone to the, let's see, October 20th meeting of the Richmond Selectboard. Welcome. I guess first thing I want to turn it over to Jay quick to make quick comment, and then we'll do public comment.
Sure. I just want to share with people the news of the recent passing of a pillar of the community. Francis Churchill, one of our justices of the peace, passed away very suddenly about a week ago. And his memorial service will be on the 1st of November at the ponds at Bolton Valley. I believe the time is 3 p.m. Everyone is welcome to come. And I know that a lot of people like me will miss him very much.
Thank you. Public comment, Mary?
Public comment, thank you. Hi there, Mary Hull, thank you so much. With the organization, the new organization of the select board, I'd like to offer a couple proposals to streamline. And you mentioned that the meetings go long. Oh boy, do they ever. So this is hopefully going to help. Since the motions the select board put forward for a second are already composed, and it appears the decision is also made for a specific member of the select board to make the motion, the full motion and all motions prepared should be included for public release in each select board packet on the website. And especially since the chair said once a motion has been made and seconded, there will only be discussion from the select board. We cannot discuss a motion, only the select board, but if you've prepared the motions and you clearly have, then they need to be available for us so that we can discuss what's going in the motion. The public needs to see, read, and understand what each motion will be as it is pre-prepared. Reasoning, the details spelled out in each motion can be discussed prior to the reading of the motion for public input and discussion. In an effort to streamline each select board meeting and to get the meetings concluded in a reasonable time, many things can and must be moved to the town manager for his decision. Example, the closing of town roads for Halloween, for summer block parties, bike events on Cochrane Road. These can immediately be moved to Josh for approval. You can delegate at your yearly reorganization meeting, you can reauthorize this on a yearly basis. And that way you don't have to discuss it. Somebody has an issue, they'll bring it to your attention ahead of time. I guarantee it. It is also possible to add driveway permits that have been approved by our road foreman to this. He already has the knowledge and expertise for the driveway process. He inspects each driveway individually for placement, slope, line of sight. So once he says that I've approved this, it should be also well within your purview to pass that on to Josh and just at the meeting, just say, these roads have been approved. A simple citation, the following roads are closed for party, race, construction, whatever. That's all you have to say. You don't have to say it's open for discussion. Josh has approved these. Just as the town manager is appointed for grants and other projects as they appear, this can easily be assigned at your yearly reorganizational meeting. Huh? Okay, great.
15 more seconds, go for it.
For the items such as Southview development, the 3-acre rule, unless we are all ready for a concrete decision, do not bring it up. Introduce the topic, allow for an update, and then finalize it. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
3 more things.
Patty?
Thank you. My name is Patty Brushett, and I've had a long time interest in the kind of policing we have here in town. Since police recruitment, salaries, and benefits will probably be discussed in executive session, I'm hoping I can speak to this in a brief statement. I timed myself, I'm 2 minutes.
I do think we plan on having an executive session to cover parts of it, but part of it can be discussed in public session if you would like to wait and talk about it at that agenda item. If not, we can take it now.
I'd love to just do it now if that's possible.
Go for it.
Okay. I just want to say that I support having a higher pay scale than surrounding towns as a recruitment and retention strategy for police. To help pay for this, you might consider dropping the recruitment strategy of a take-home car, a strategy that does not appear to work. You might also consider reducing the budgeted number of officers by 1. Also, it matters who we recruit and hire. Richmond wants community policing, the type of policing interim Chief Matt Cohen does. It makes sense to increase the wage scale, hire a certified officer has demonstrated a community policing ethic through their engagement with residents at schools and town events and their collaboration with mental health outreach and community justice centers. Once we have a stable force of Matt Cohen and the experienced officer, then we can recruit from the academy and train them to create the culture we want. We shouldn't compromise to just fill the position. As Chief Muldoon said about hiring officers, you can't train a German Shepherd to be a golden retriever or a black lab for that matter. We want officers who live nearby and understand community policing. Things are not as urgent as some might think. We have time to wait for good candidates. After all, the state police is just over the hill in Williston. We are fortunate they are close by, and they do and will continue to respond to serious situations. Finally, if we could fill the part-time office assistant position, we could take lots of clerical work off the chief's plate and perhaps leave him with more time for recruitment. Maybe advertise this office assistant position more frequently in Front Porch Forum. Maybe offer more money. We budgeted for this position and haven't spent any of that money. We have an opportunity to build the kind of police department we want from the ground up. I hope you will think very creatively about how we can attract the kind of police officers we want. Thank you for allowing me to speak, and thank you for all you do for our town.
Great. Thank you,
Thanks,
Patty.
Patty.
Thanks, Patty.
Do one, either one.
I asked Denise Barnard, I asked that if possible, could we move Jay up to B1 after the pickleball, since there are 4 members of our committee here.
Sorry, sorry.
No, it's all right.
I heard
Item number J,
Jay before.
regarding the boundary line agreement for Browns Court. Is it possible to move that after we talk about the pickleball courts, since there are 4
Yeah.
current committee members right now?
Anyone have any?
I don't know.
It's fine.
So we'll do
Thank you.
J after B. Angelecki?
Hi, is this a good time to talk about Halloween?
Do we have it on as an agenda thing?
Just as a public comment?
This is about.
Gotcha. Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Sorry, I knew to expect this and I completely forgot.
Okay,
I apologize.
Yeah, so I'm the director of Mount Mansfield Community Television, and just kind of like a fun and spooky topic. We are hoping to once again haunt the Richmond Town Hall, and also give away a lot of candy to youngsters in the front of it. And as in the past, we're kind of spearheading the effort and have reached out to the other nonprofit tenants in the building to be involved with all the fun. And we just love that Richmond Town Center has become a hub in recent years. At least I think we've done this for the last 3 years. This will be the 4th. And look for spooky eyeballs and ghosts and things in the windows, just kind of like a point of information for the public. And everyone's welcome to drop off any extra candy they might have with MMC TV.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Any other additions, deletions, or modifications aside from J before B or after B? Yeah. Okay, I guess.
Oh, you've got one.
Oh, go ahead, Elise.
Hey,
Is this
the,
change the agenda or a comment? What do we?
just a comment.
Okay, go ahead.
I was just looking to see if Jay had seen either the video or comments from last week on my concerns with him on the board.
I did indeed read the minutes. I've not had a chance to watch the video.
Okay. I'd definitely recommend, just so I don't have to repeat myself, but would love for you to consider some of the comments that I made in the video. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Anything else before we move on to the agenda? Okay, item A. We have a budget meeting on October 22nd at 7 p.m. Also on November 10th. And then on December 8th. So all 3 of those will be the planned budget meetings. Obviously, there's an option for more if we need them. Recommend you attend. Their materials will be posted ahead of time. So Josh, take
Just
it away.
remind the board and the public.
Great. And then we have an announcement about the opening of the pickleball courts.
Join you?
Yeah, great.
I have 10 minutes, right? So
Yeah,
somebody be the timekeeper and stop us.
The video is about 4 minutes.
Uh,
You wanted to play the video.
Is the video 4 minutes or 18? I don't know.
15 minutes?
I don't know how long it is.
big difference.
I'm pretty sure it was 4 minutes when I looked at it. but-
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So, with your permission, actually, you know what? Has anybody in your packet looked at the video that MMC TV did? And before we start, I should apologize. Denise Barnard, co-chair of the 3 Parks Committee, board member Tess Stores. We have Kendra Ziski, co-chair, and we have Fran Thomas. I'm not sure if Jeannie Agner's on yet, but we are members of the 3 Parks Committee. So we are here, as we promised over 2.5 years ago, we promised this board when we came before you that we would keep you informed of what we're doing every step of the way. I think our committee has done a fantastic job in doing so, but I just wanted to update you a little bit tonight. There is a video, it's fantastic. MMC TV did it. I hope it's 4 minutes.
I think it's 4 minutes. You want to play it?
Can I do this and then we'll play it if we're doing good on time? So after over 2 years of work on this project, it is a pleasure to announce from the 3 Parks Committee that the long-awaited pickleball courts are now complete and open for play. For the rest of the playing season, the courts will be open from 8 a.m. to dusk. They will be locked in the evenings for safety. The project would not have come to fruition without the help of many local individuals and several of Richmond Town's departments. We would like to start by thanking Josh and Duncan Wardwell from the Town Manager's Office and the Select Board for all your support, Steve Cody in the Water and Sewer Department, and then Pete Goslin and his crew from the Highway Department. Mike Parent went up after the trees were planted and watered before we could use the water. And I also, so the assistance that the committees gave us saved us from using outside contractors, saved us monies, materials that weren't included in the installation contract. So on Thursday, October 2nd was the kind of day that makes everyone who lives in Richmond so proud of their community. For over 2.5 hours, the area surrounding the pickleball court was a hive of activity where we guessed what, 46? Over 40 volunteers, including the staff from VYCC, planted 60 arborvitae trees around 3 sides of the court. The effort required several truckloads of topsoil and a yard of compost for each tree to be transported around the site using wheelbarrows, buckets, and a small tractor operated by a resident, Lane Marshall. We are eternally grateful to Lane for the number of hours he spent preparing the site, and then to Lane for transporting materials to fill in the trenches where the trees were being planted. A special thanks also goes to Ron Paquette of Pocket Full of Posies. He donated a great price on the trees, but then he donated a yard of compost to use. We also received donations from Northfield Savings Bank, Sweet Simone's, and Cumberland Farms, and one volunteer even brought jars of pickles. What was most impressive to the committee was the enthusiasm of the volunteers, their willingness to plant the trees as directed, to move the dirt and compost around the site. Of course, once the trees were planted, several volunteers went to their cars and changed their clothes, their shoes, and grabbed their paddles and proceeded to christen the court at 5:30 at night. One thing I was remiss earlier, we want to do a special shout out to the Richmond Conservation Committee for the funds that they allowed us with the select board to purchase the trees, the benches, and the handicap picnic table. The newly planted trees need to be watered at least twice a week. And then because of the water spigot there, we have also bought a hose. It's up there. So with the volunteers from the Friends of the Richmond Pickleball Group, they are taking care of that totally. We've totally handed over responsibility to them. They are organizing cleanup, brushing off the court, locking the courts, unlocking the courts, watering the trees. So that has kind of taken a load off from us. For the remainder of the playing years, the courts are on a first come, first served basis, no reservations. Please, we ask that you follow the posted rules, share the courts, park to the right side of the field, not right up to the courts, but right up to the woods on the right. And most of all, respect the neighbors, their privacy, and a right to a peaceful neighborhood. We will have a grand opening celebration in the spring. And then hopefully, we are probably 80% of the way on the policy that's being developed by the pickleball group. Let's see, RES, the Richmond Elementary School, are thinking about possibly using the courts as well when it's not being used by others. And many current pickleball players have volunteered to work with the town on such things as monitoring the condition of the courts, working out neighborhood concerns, developing a budget for any maintenance necessary to keep the courts in good condition, and developing the scheduling policy. Since we, at this time, don't have a rec committee to handle this, we are grateful to this group for their help. Again, a heartfelt thanks from our entire committee to all who have volunteered in any way on this project, a milestone for the Richmond Recreation. And that's very sincerely from the members of our 3 Parks Committee. And again, keeping you informed, our next step is getting going on the 30 space parking lot for Browns Court. And remember, it's not a paved parking lot, it's a gravel parking lot. And 2 weeks ago, was it 2 or 3 weeks ago, we met, I think, for the 3rd or 4th time with the parking committee, just to make sure that we're doing everything correctly as per the town rules. So 2 of their committee members, 3 of our committee members, plus many neighbors and friends of pickleball people came and learned about the parking lot. So as soon as there's enough money from FEMA, we'd like to put the RFP out to bid. And we have the specs all ready to go, and hopefully we'll work with Josh or Duncan, whoever we're assigned with, to get that going. And then I think that's it. How am I doing on time?
That was 7 minutes.
All right, we can watch a video.
Video? Just talking about the recorder. Oh. Is that Gene Agner? What are you doing?
You didn't have your.
Make sure that the sound is gonna come through correctly.
If it goes over 4 minutes, then,
No, I just checked it as far as.
okay, perfect. Whew.
I just gotta make sure that I got the sound's gonna play correctly. So there's a little bit of a trick to that.
But on very short notice, they came up and videoed for most of the day. And I think the gentleman that was doing the filming was just excited as the volunteers that were doing the work. But it was a beautiful day, and
So this should share the computer sound. So hopefully everybody at home can hear this. If I could turn it up, that would also help. He's just gonna provide a bunch of. This may not work if,
and if it doesn't,
no, I'm just thinking we might have feedback. Because I have to play it on my computer. I already hear an echo.
I'm gonna press the sound button.
We are 3 members of the Richmond 3 Parks Committee, a committee that was appointed by the Richmond Selectboard 2 years ago, August. And we are here to upgrade all 3 of our parks. We have ARPA money, and we've already done the all-round church. That's completely finished. And now this is our second major project to be undertaken, 4 new pickleball courts. So what's happening today is, this morning you didn't see it, but the highway department and our wonderful water sewer were here, and they put a trench in. And now Browns Court, for the first time in many, many years, will have a water spigot. Today, all these volunteers have come together. It's many members of our pickleball community, as well as our committee, as well as neighbors of Browns Court and other Richmond residents that have all come to plant 60 arborvitae trees. It's been a wonderful event. Local businesses, Sweet Simone donated cookies. The Northfield Savings Bank has donated lemonade and apples, and the Cumberland Farms have donated all their paper products for these. But what's happening today at the table as well is Maya Bave is signing up people to do the watering after the trees are planted.
She's also signing people to unlock and lock the gates every morning and every night. And we also have another roster of everybody who's volunteered on this project today. We want to shout out especially to Bolton Fire Department, because as we were getting ready and things were happening here this morning, the town is now under a water advisory. So Bolton will be coming this afternoon at 5:30 to help us water the trees, and that will happen 2 times a week. 2 times a week from now on. So we thank you for coming. And if you ever have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact our committee. Fran, Tess, anything else you'd like to say that I haven't added?
No, I just want to get back here.
Okay, we're getting back to work. But we've got incredible volunteers here, and we could not have done this project without the support of the Select Board for allowing these projects to go forward, as well as the incredible volunteers that have showed up today.
I believe anything that happens in this world happens because of a community. And this community came together when they were asked if they would like to help involve themselves in having this pickleball court built. And so all we did was send out some emails to the community and said, what do you think? And they did come together. They did say, yes, this will help. We need recreation up here. There was some conversation about housing, but this is not the ideal place. It wasn't enough room. Champlain Trust would have to have taken it over, and they did not have a lot of money. Anyway, so the community came together with the idea that this should be saved for recreation.
Yeah, I just want to take a moment to say thank you to all these great volunteers who came out to make the pickleball courts a reality. We probably have over 50 people here from Richmond and surrounding communities, a lot of pickleball enthusiasts, as well as folks from Vermont Youth Conservation Corps out to help put the trees in, which is the finishing touch on the pickleball courts. Once the trees are in, we can open the courts up, and I know there's a lot of anticipation and excitement for pickleball to start here in Richmond. And I certainly want to say thanks to Denise and Fran and the entire committee for organizing pickleball courts from start to finish. So a great community effort, and thanks to everybody.
You have to consider your subject.
So any questions?
It's great. Thank you.
Denise, I just want to say thank you. As we all know, a lot of stuff comes to this board when there are problems and things don't go well. And it's really nice to be a small part of witnessing something that went very well, from a vacant, unutilized town asset to forming the committee to explore good uses, come up with a plan through completion with all the community input and help driven by your committee. It's nice to see. Thank you.
Oh, I think all of us are getting emails and from people that we know and like, oh my God, I saw a father teaching his son how to play pickleball tonight. It was the cutest thing. And we're getting these incredible emails and the feedback. It's just, that part is so incredibly rewarding. And thank you for your comments. That was really nice. But they're beautiful and they came out. Oh, the benches came in early and the picnic table came in early. So they should be bolted in, I would say, probably within next week. So now we have places for people to sit and have a snack, and
I assume we can skip the watering for today.
we can skip it for today. And I tell you, the person that signed up was very, very excited, I'm sure.
Thank you.
I'll sit in the audience, but if you have any questions about the next issue.
Great. On to item J. So consideration of approving a boundary line adjustment for Browns Court. And then we have a possible executive session to go over that. Do we need to go over that executive session?
Only if you would like to.
I would prefer to do it.
No, I think.
Public section at all possible.
Yeah. There's a specific legal question about the agreement with you in executive session, but I think it's all pretty straightforward.
Well, do you want to give us a synopsis?
Sure. All right, so when we were going through the process of recreational installations in Browns Court and also exploring possibly conserving it to keep it protected from future development for housing, in the research, we realized that there really wasn't a clean title to Browns Court itself. It was, I think, initially owned by the Underwear Company, was deeded or given to the Richmond Baseball Association in the early 1900s. They managed it for, I guess, a number of decades, and then it sort of morphed into the town managing it and maintaining this parcel. So in order to clean that title up, our attorneys recommended that we do a boundary line agreement with the boundary, the property to the west and to the north. So that's the McCarthy property. This line here in orange is the current boundary line that you see on recorded plats. This would just make sure that we both agree, the town and the McCarthys, that that's the line. Anything to the north and to the west is McCarthy's, anything to the east and to the south belongs to the town. These lines, I note, have been already agreed to. So this would sort of finalize that and make sure that the town does indeed own this entire plot of land. There's two additional items that we need to address going forward after we do this. This triangle here, as you can see, sort of cuts into part of the park. And if you can see the gradients here, it's tough to see in the room, but this is all really steep slope, steep ravine. So what we'd like to do is basically create a line that goes from this point here down to here. That will be a boundary line adjustment that we would do with the McCarthys. I've spoken with Linda McCarthy. She seems open to that, but that's yet another agreement. And then this area here, the shaded part, is an area of unclear title if you're to zoom in on it. The suggestion here is to keep this eastern part of the line. Anything to the east of that would be the town. Anything to the west of that would be the Carroll and Oliver residents. I believe they're already maintaining that as part of their yard. This would just clarify that. Once we do all three of those agreements, we would then have a plat that we would record in the records that would be finalized after all three of those agreements are put in place. But tonight, we're looking at the boundary line agreement with the McCarthys.
Great. So, don't have any questions? They're agreeable to this?
Yeah, I spoke with Linda McCarthy. She's agreeable to that. She's actually planning on coming in next week to sign on that. I just wanted to make sure that the board was also on board and we should be good to go. So I think we're just looking for a motion.
You as the authorized.
Yeah, if you designate me, I can send. There's one, I think, change we have to make to the agreement, which it still had her husband on there and he's since passed. So we just need to make sure that his name comes off and her name is on there as the executor of the trust. But other than that, no changes.
Cool. And then will be future revisions to this, which we'll approve as needed, or we're designating you to approve those?
No, just this agreement. We'll come back with the boundary line adjustment and the other boundary line agreement with the other property owners. This is step 1 of 3.
Adam, this is David. I move to approve the boundary line agreement between the town and the Gene R. McCarthy Revocable Trust, and to name town manager Josh Arneson as the duly authorized agent to sign the agreement.
Caitlin, will second.
Motion from David to approve the adjustment and authorize Josh to sign, and a second from Caitlin. Any discussion? Calling to a vote.
Caitlin, aye.
David, I.
Jay,
Adam, aye. Sorry, Bard, cut you off. Adam, aye. Great, I guess we're back to C. So this would be an update on the completion of the ethics training and then assigning of the ethics acknowledgement form by committee members and staff. I think this, we modified this policy to cover everyone in any appointed or employed or elected position in town, right?
Yes. And it's basically the state came out with a new municipal ethics new municipal ethics policy that went into effect on January 1st. It covered some, but not all town officials, volunteers, and staff. The select board went through a process to make sure that that then applied to all town staff and all volunteers, just to try to keep it simple. So there's one policy that applies to everybody. The state guidance is that everybody should watch the training by the end of September, I think it's September 25th for current employees and volunteers. The town also added on an additional requirement to sign a municipal code of ethics acknowledgement form, acknowledging that you've read the code of ethics. You sign that, you hand that in. And I think there's a 3-month window every year between June, July, and August to hand that in. So this is an update now. Basically, everybody should have signed the form and watched the training video by the end of September. So we wanted to come back to the board with an update on where things stood as far as compliance. I want to thank Deputy Manager Duncan Wardwell for his diligence in sending out multiple reminders to people to try to make sure we get compliance Even though we're not at 100%, we are at far higher compliance with the acknowledgement form than I think we've ever been. Despite reminding everybody every year, we've got, I think, better compliance we have been in the past. There's still some work to do though. So I don't know if you want to go over the numbers.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna,
Slightly updated ones. You don't want to go.
we're not gonna put up actual names or anything like
Okay,
that,
no,
right? That doesn't seem
I
appropriate.
was not planning on that.
Not yet. Denise?
Can I have one point of clarification?
Sure.
If a person serves on multiple boards, do they need to do a letter of acknowledgement for each committee or just one?
Just one. Duncan has a tracking spreadsheet. He'll track you on all four.
You wanna,
ones.
do you wanna pop this up so everyone can see what we're looking at?
Yeah. Do
Is
that.
that possible? That's
Yeah.
easy to do.
Give me a second.
I guess one nuance that I found out, let's say the hard way, it wasn't too hard, was that there's a everyone that's elected is elected on town meeting day. And so you have to do it within 120 days of that. And then you also have to, because of the time frame we put on it, you have to do it also between June 1st and September 29th. So I don't know, for all of us, that means if Caitlin would have had to do it once and then within 3 months. So there's a little bit of timing nuance there to remain compliant.
Getting it here.
Marshall?
Just a question of a point of clarification as a board member involved in this as well. When we say we have to do it within that period after your election appointment and then do it again within that annual cycle of the town's calendar. Does do it mean watching the video a second time?
No,
Or just signing the form saying we watched the video? Or what does it mean? Doing it again? What
That's
is
a good question.
So it's two separate things. So the video is one time every 3 years. You have to watch the video one time every 3 years. The acknowledgement form is just a form saying, yes, I've recently read this and I'm familiar with the policy, send that in. So that's where we say, as you're appointed, you have to do that. And then you have to do that every year. Your committee actually should be reviewing it in the committee meeting every year between, we say in June to July. So the committee reviews it, everybody signs off, we record those forms that you've read it every single year, but the training is only every 3 years. Sure.
Follow-up question.
Yeah.
So there's a video, there's some sort of written information that the town has on our ethics process, and that's what we're signing that we've read.
Just the actual ethics policy
The
itself.
ethics policy, we've read and sign off on that.
Yep.
At least annually, in the videos that we've seen this about every 3 years.
Videos every 3 years.
Thanks for the clarity.
Yeah, no, thank you for asking, because it does get a little confusing
Yeah.
with all the new requirements. Yeah.
So these are the numbers we have now.
The top chart was as of Friday. Duncan did send out a reminder to say the board's gonna be meeting, so we picked up a few more for fire department volunteers and staff. We're discussing enforcement.
Yeah, go ahead. Do you want to do that or?
Sure. So I reached out, so I'm not really sure how we can enforce things here. You know, one thought is, well, if you haven't signed it, you stop working or you stop reporting to your committee. But actually emailed with the state ethics officer and asked her like, well, what do we do? And she said the state doesn't have any enforcement policy. So basically their stance would be, if there was ever an ethics complaint filed, then whoever's reviewing that complaint would take that into consideration if that person that was filed against had watched the video or signed up for the acknowledgement form. She said, however, towns are open to or welcome to have their own enforcement. The only enforcement that we have in our policy is if you actually violate a part of the ethics code itself, not if you haven't signed off on the acknowledgement for the training. So in order to have any sort of enforcement, we would need to have amendment to the policy with what that enforcement would look like.
No one have any thoughts?
I don't know how to, we're not gonna put people's names up on a leaderboard here. I think that would be really effective, but that would probably be against the ethics policy. At the end of the day, I hope everyone takes the time to invest in reading and taking the training. And if there are folks that are lagging behind, maybe we can, if you know them well enough, follow up one-on-one, and Duncan can, or any of us that have relationships. But I think that's probably as far as we could go.
I think Josh and I had talked just as we were doing the agenda about, you know, before he had talked to the lawyer that we should set a date. Anyone who has completed it would be suspended from their whatever appointed, elected is tough, duties turns out we don't have the ability to do that without amending the policy. So is that something we want to do to amend the policy to say that within certain number of days of not completing it or months, that you would be temporarily suspended until completion? I don't think no one would lose a seat or anything. It would just be that you couldn't function in whatever capacity, and that would be reinstated immediately upon completing the training
I think that's fair.
I don't know. Caitlin looks confused.
I'm hesitant to do that just because I feel like we already have. I mean, we look at the fire department, we look at the police department, like I understand that there's it's very important to do, but we're also struggling to have people and to retain people, and I don't want to create another blockade or reason to step away. But I do think it's important to take some kind of on the fence of like, do we lay a heavy hand on it, or do we have, direct conversations with people that are on, certain boards or hold certain roles that we really want to enforce with? It could go either way.
Well, I don't see this being as a surprise. Hey, Caitlin, guess what? You can't serve on the board because you didn't sign the ethics policy. What? I didn't? I think it would be, Caitlin, you need to sign the ethics policy. Oh, okay. Caitlin, you still haven't signed the ethics policy. Oh, okay.
If I've done.
I think by the time it came to temporary suspension, there's an issue that needs to be addressed.
Bard.
But that's just my opinion.
It seems to me, since if I recall correctly, our scope is broader than that required by statute. Do I remember correctly?
Yes.
Yeah.
So speaking to both David and Caitlin's comments, it seems to me, since we haven't gone down this path before, that we might start with an earnest effort to contact the individuals and tell them you really need to do X by Y date. The select board is contemplating a policy that would be more punitive, but we hope to take an approach that's more positive and individualized in the interim.
Elise?
Yeah, I was just curious if we've gotten to any root causes as to why. Like, has there been any digging on, is it technology an issue? Is the timing an issue? What's the holdup for those low percentage rates? Because I would assume from like a town perspective, this puts you guys at risk to have people in town positions that haven't signed the ethics. At least that's from like my corporate world. That's what it typically is. Like, we need you to sign it to prove that we have trained you on the ethics in case you do something unethical.
Yeah, I don't know about what issues are holding people up from doing it. I do note that most employees have signed it. I think there's a couple of very part-time employees who haven't signed it. We could probably do a little bit more direct reach out to them. I could follow up as far as liability. When I talked to the Ethics Commission, their thought was basically, well, if there's ever a complaint, then that's taken into consideration regarding that complaint. I would ask Duncan, I don't know if you heard from anybody, if it was electronic feedback or just an objection to it at all. I haven't really heard a ton of direct feedback.
No, I always try to provide personal feedback on how to deal with it. Some people have to restart the video. There's ways to scan it and sign it. There's many ways to try to do it, but I always try to help people when I give them their personal reminders.
Bard?
Maybe it's just me, but I don't recall seeing this in the list. It seems to me I'd be interested in seeing the list of people who are required by statute and did not do it versus the people who are required by policy and did not do it. It strikes me that there may be a two-tiered level of risk of non-compliance, if that makes sense.
A good point.
Yep.
What do we want to do moving forward? Give it some more time, more direct reach out.
Yeah, I think like to Elise's point, what's the cause of incompletion is an important question. And like I'm sitting here going, did I sign that? I hope I signed that. I hope I'm not sitting here talking about it like but I'm anyway, so for me to be thinking that means that I am not tracking, if Duncan's sending me a ton of emails, I'm not tracking those emails. And so who else isn't tracking those emails? That's on a volunteer basis. And can we actually like do a more personal outreach, not via email, if we have those connections with folks and try to have some conversations, if that's possible, or send a text or something, if that's appropriate. And then I think to Bard's point, I'm very much in line with people that are required to complete this, as in like they're by statute, that at that point I would move more aggressively forward with saying you're suspended from position.
One, I have two thoughts. One is that having to sign it twice confuses people because they go, Duncan's sending me these emails, but I've signed it already. And that's just
I
human
can second,
nature.
I mean, that's what I did.
Exactly what I did.
That's why it's
No,
yellow.
That's exactly what I did. The
But
second
it's
thing
not
is-
always twice either. Sometimes
Well,
it's
that's
just
true.
one time a year, and sometimes it is twice. But that's the thing.
Right. But with as many forms as we sign in our daily lives, it's very easy to think, I did that already, even if you haven't. And I'm completely guilty of that. I signed it earlier this year, but not in the window I needed to have signed it in. So I signed it again today and sent it in. The other option is, since somebody can sign the form without having done anything, it's basically a Scout's honor kind of thing. It might be easier if we simply put up a web form that people, and just send a link and say, here, follow this link. And then they can sign it that way. Because I know that if you don't have a scanner and if you're not particularly savvy with taking a picture of a sheet of paper, and you don't want to drop it by the town office, I mean, we want to remove all the barriers we can.
Yeah. It's a good idea.
Turns out I'm one of those people that had done it in the first round when I was supposed to, but I need to do it again. Duncan's sitting here going, yeah, you're on my list.
And it looks like the fire department's numbers are really low. I'm assuming that's because they're kind of a separate entity. They don't really, as a department, they don't come into the town center. They don't really, it's just distinctly different.
It could be, yeah, and I separated them out just because they're sort of staff, sort of volunteers. I didn't want their numbers to skew either.
Yeah.
So I don't want the hard one to feel singled out, but that's why I separated out.
It's also a good group, a good chunk of people relative to everything.
Right, and they're sort of in a unique position, like you said, they're not always in the office here or around, and they're sort of volunteers, sort of staff, sort of in the middle.
Yeah, maybe we could reach out and have that done as part of one of their trainings I mean, it's how long was the video? Like 12 minutes?
It's pretty quick.
It's about, well, so the thing with the video is it is about a 45-minute video. And you're supposed to watch it individually because at the end, there's some questions and you get a certificate that says you've completed the video with the questions. And then you email that back to Duncan and that's how he tracks that you individually have done it. I think Chief Levesque was gonna bring it up at a training to talk about like, look, you guys gotta get this done, gotta get the forms filled out at least, and then watch the video and get the information to Duncan. So it is on there.
In the chat, Kendra made a good point.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I know that Kendra's not alone. There was a number that were on that list and it does get confusing, but that's the way the policy is written. You're supposed to sign it when you're elected and then in that window. So if you get appointed in that window, like we appoint a lot of people in the board appoints folks in May. So then at their first meeting, they'd sign it to be good to go. But if you get elected in March or you get appointed like now to a vacant seat, it does create the reason why you have to do it twice. So we're just trying to follow the letter of the way the policy is. That could be another amendment that, if you get appointed, I don't know, before June 1st, you don't have to sign it again until the next year. There could be some wording we could add to that if we wanted to.
The more we put time into this too, people will get comfortable with the nuances and eventually it'll be easier for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Marshall, did you have a comment? Sorry, again. I said.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Marshall Paulson. I'm also still not entirely clear that I have checked all the boxes and filled all the forms myself, but I was speaking with Suzanne just today about this. The one thing that I thought as the chair of the BCA, a lot of groups or committees have chairs, and I've certainly stepping it up and offering as a chair of the JPs. I'd be glad to take the role of following up with any JPs that haven't completed the process and assist them to the degree I can, which mostly is going to mean say talk to Duncan. But that may be another resource. Got chairs of committees to offer.
Josh seems to be taking notes that he'll take you up on that. So.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to speak to, the individual reach out. Duncan has, being a whiz with technology, has figured out like a way to send individual emails to people, like, dear Josh, you still need to sign this. So we are trying to do personalized outreach as much as we can. We can send another, we did send one out last week. We can send another reminder about the board's, talking about next steps for people who are not compliant. And I think an email to chairs to bring it up in your next meeting would be helpful as well. The more people that can remind everybody that this is important, I think the better.
Yeah, and I think like, and not to discount anything you've done, Duncan, I see that 500 emails that you've sent me that I have not seen. And I think that you send out a lot of emails that are about town stuff, and I kind of, make sure that I read the clear ones, but those ones I thought were more general, I think. And so who else is thinking that those are more general, and like the email channel itself is maybe the problem? And so I like the idea of chairs maybe having, if it's appropriate, to have a list of folks to touch base with within their committees and trying to drive, those to fruition. So like if Chief Levesque had a list of people at the fire department, you had a list of people in your committee and so forth. And we just kind of went committee by committee and had chairs help us out.
There's the fun of being chair.
Yeah.
Ready to move on?
Yep.
Beat this one enough. The other consideration of a request to display signs in the town right of way for the Friday night food affairs. Anyone from the Friday night food affair here?
Oh, pick me. Marshall Paulson, Friday food affair.
Do you how was the new form that was created?
Glad you asked that. Yeah. So in response to, I think, an ongoing evolution of the process of requesting the opportunity to do a sign, I filled out a form online that was prepared. And just as a side note comment, I thought the form was really clear, concise, complete, and easy to do.
Great.
So nice job on that.
I would make, for anyone who's not familiar, Marshall was the first person to fill the form out because it is a new form, I believe, right?
Great job.
Woo woo. And to wit, the request, should I ask the request or do you all see it and we need to review it? Okay.
We've got it.
Do you have any questions about the request?
No, I don't have any questions. I'm wondering if there's any discussion.
You can read it out. Someone want to read it out. So it's not, I don't think it's in the public stuff.
Oh.
Is it the specific request? Is it?
Put the form in public, let me see.
Is the completed form in
I
there?
think I did.
No, I
Double check
didn't
that.
see it. Apologize.
Maybe I didn't. No, the request is in there. I can pull it up. Have a look.
So while you're getting that pulled up, I can just give some details of the sign itself. So it's a 18 by 24 inch sign promoting the Friday Food Affair. It's at the intersection of Huntington Road and Cochrane Road. It would start on the Monday prior to each event and ending on the evening of each event for the 25, 26 dates, which are all listed out: November 7th and 21st, December 9th and 19th, January 2nd and 16th, February 6th and 20th, March 6th and 20th, April 3rd and 17th, May 1st and May 15th.
Great. Would someone like to make a motion to approve this, or?
I move to approve the display of an 18 by 24 inch sign promoting the Friday Food Affair at the intersection of Huntington Road and Cochrane Road, starting on the Monday prior to each event and ending on the evening of each event for the following 2025 and 2026 event dates: November 7th and November 21st, December 5th and 19th, January 2nd and 16th, February 6th and 20th, March 6th and 20th, April 3rd and 17th, May 1st and May 15th.
Adam, this is David. I'll second.
Great. Thank you. Any other discussion? Bart, anything?
Thank you for completing the form.
Calling to a vote.
Caitlin, aye.
David, I.
Jay, aye.
Bart, aye.
Adam, aye.
Thank you.
Thank you for.
One last note, please come and join us for dinner.
Yeah, I was going to say, is this actually a marketing ploy? So I've read the dates out loud several times, or is that? I like
Thank you
it.
very much.
Thanks, Marshall.
Duncan, thank you for putting that form together.
Yeah, that's great.
Next we have an update from the Housing Committee on their strategic housing plan and priorities.
Great, good evening. Josh, do you have the
Yeah.
presentation? All right.
Get it up here.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Good evening. Thank you for making rooms in your busy schedule to have the housing committee come and join and talk a little bit about what we've been working on for the past few years. I know we have a couple committee members, Virginia Clark and Connie Van Egan, also online that might help support any questions that we might have throughout the evening. So my name is Mark Hall. I'm the current committee chair of the Richmond Housing Committee. And for the better part of the past year or so, we have been working with our planning commission, our planning administrator. We've been conducting interviews with town residents that are experts in the housing space, speaking to developers. We had some sessions with the Heinsberg Affordable Housing Committee. And of course, we had a housing study completed in 2023. So the recommendations that you'll hear tonight are really the culmination of those activities, and really meant to be a starting point for how we as a community would like to see and support our dire need for housing here in the state. So on a final note, before we move on, in 2023, we were here in front of the select board where we had talked about some locations and parcels in the community that could be potential areas for affordable housing development. And one of the questions that we asked this committee was, what was your commitment to help incentivize affordable housing? And your response was, well, come back with some recommendations. So here we are. We're back with some recommendations to talk about, to discuss, and to go from there. So Josh, if you want to move to the next slide there.
Yeah, why it's not advancing. There we go.
There we go. So Richmond is a great place to call home. I've lived here in Richmond for almost 8 years. We're proud of our public schools, our local businesses, our rural character, and the array of town-sponsored events, the pickleball courts that we just built, right? However, Richmond's appeal has also made it really difficult for people to secure housing and for people to stay here as well due to affordability. And having housing for all income levels doesn't just support the occupants of that house, right? It supports really the community and how they are able to contribute and give back to our community. So if you think that, if you put it this way, for a first year salary of a student at the Mount Mansfield or for a teacher at the Mount Mansfield Union School District, their starting salary is about $46,000-ish. That was in 2024 numbers. And in the median home price sale price in 2024, it would take a salary of $186,000 to afford or buy a house here in Richmond. So there's a big gap, right? And I think many of us can agree that having teachers educating our students is an important part of our community, right? So, some other stats here on the page. The vacancy rate had fell to 1% in 2020. We've heard 50% of Richmond residents identified as cost burden or severely cost burden when it came to their homes. And the state legislature has done a lot of work to help encourage housing across the state. So in 2023, the Home Act was passed, and they put some housing targets out there. And they said in Chittenden County, we are setting a goal for 31,000 housing units in Chittenden County by 2050, so 25 years from now. And in working with the CCRPC, which is a Chittenden County
Regional Planning
Commission, they helped set our target at around 400 units by 2050, which is roughly about 16 units per year. Today, in the past few years, we're averaging around 8 to 10 units that we're adding within Richmond. So it's not a huge leap, but we also need to make sure that we're adding the right kind of units, right? Not just very expensive homes, but homes that others can live in as well. So, you know, I think we conclude that in Richmond, there's a high demand, costs are increasing, but there is still an opportunity for Richmond to do our part. If you want to go to the next slide. So what we had done is we had broken out these recommendations really into 4 categories. And these recommendations are what our town government, our committees can do to help influence hitting those housing targets of around 16 units per year. And really successful projects need 4 things: community support, they need funding, they need the proper infrastructure to help support those. And then they also need a clear path to approvals. So how are we getting from an idea into a completed project? And so our strategic recommendations really touch on these areas to increase the chances of smart development and growth in our community. So if you want to go to the next slide. So specifically, the recommendations are around continued zoning improvements, funding affordable housing projects. So how could our community help influence or support the funding, community outreach and support. And we touch on water and sewer regulations really because in speaking with a lot of like affordable housing developers, that's one of the first things they look at is there sewer water supplied to that parcel that we're looking to develop. These recommendations aren't necessarily the sole responsibility of the Housing Committee, but are, again, as I said, around how the town, our committees, the select board here can help support these recommendations. We've put a lot of these into our town plan part of the housing section. So if you've looked at any of the drafts, you'll see it very similar. And then one more thing I'll just mention. Earlier this year, there was an ask before the select board around the Tier 1B exemption. So this was allowing certain areas within our community to be exempt from some of the Act 250 stipulations. This committee did pass that, so I wanted to just thank you, or supported that, so thank you for taking that step and helping with that. I'm not going to drain all of these areas, but around continued zoning improvements, it has been a lot of work that has been done to help modernize some of our zoning regulations. Some more ideas: we have this commercial village zoning district, currently doesn't allow housing to be developed there, and so how do we allow that? How can we allow housing in those communities to have it be a little bit more mixed use in those areas? The current density bonus program, which I think was talked a lot about in relation to the Jolena Court project, right? How do we make that a possibility to be town-wide and not just unique to that particular zoning area? Increasing our maximum allowable height of buildings by 1 story. I know this has been discussed in the past, but there is an opportunity to better utilize some of our parcels, and if we can allow 1 more story, that can help with economies of scale, just making some of the housing buildings more dense. And then working again with the planning and zoning office to just help with some procedures and regulations, making things a little bit more transparent when folks come in front of those committees, asking for projects to be approved, and giving them a clear path to to completion. I'll go to the next slide. So funding affordable housing projects, right? One thing that we had recognized was actually in relation to the Jolena Court project was just showing that the town does support a project, right? I remember there was a letter that came around that one of the developers had asked, hey, can you help write a letter for some funding that we want to get? And there was, I think, a number of emails that went around the community, around the town that we weren't exactly sure how do we put that letter together and what do we say and who has the authority to write that letter. I think in talking with a lot of housing developers, affordable housing developers, they look at town support as being an important piece to success in their project, right? They're asking for a lot of money to be allocated to their particular project, and the lenders want to know that their project might be successful, right? So a simple thing: how do we just write a letter when these come into our community on a short timetable? Opportunity to create a housing trust fund to support eligible projects. What we're proposing at the beginning is just have the mechanism to do this, right? And be able to say, hey, is there an opportunity to buy down some of the acquisition costs of a piece of land, right? But having a mechanism for folks to donate, for other income sources that could help fund a housing fund, right? Developing master plans. Again, this gives clear direction that, hey, this is an area that we want to continue to develop. And we want to see housing in 20, 30 years from here. Partnering with local housing organizations. And recently there was the Community and Housing Infrastructure Program that was passed through the state legislature that is unlocking some financing opportunities for infrastructure. So we talked about infrastructure, water, sewer, roads, stormwater. Is there an opportunity to leverage some of that funding mechanism for our projects? Community outreach and support. If you want to go to the next slide there. Right, these are activities really where the housing committee, I think, can definitely lean into, is how are we educating our community members about the benefits of housing of all different kinds, right? For all different income levels, and how that just makes us a stronger community. So here are just some ideas around what we could do in the community to help continue to have that discussion. Next slide. And then finally, around water, wastewater, right? So I think it was in 2023, there was an effort to expand the water district into the gateway. However, the funding to actually fund the extension of that did not get approved. And I think what we've heard is there could be some improvements to how participants in that process can approve funding, right? And to help modernize that a little bit, so the chances of a project going through could be increased, right? Again, housing developers, affordable housing developers are looking for water, wastewater access. It greatly reduces the cost of that project when they have access. And we have capacity in our wastewater system to accommodate that. So yeah, if we want to, so why are we here, right? So what we're asking the select board tonight is really to review our recommendations. In your packet, there was a more detailed report that we had included, which really expounds in more detail the points that I made here tonight. We ask that where appropriate, you incorporate these recommendations into planning activities, town functions, committees, and with the support from the housing committee, help to track progress of the strategic plan. So this really just provides a North Star for our community and its housing needs. It's not something that's all going to happen tomorrow, next week, probably not even next year, right? This is really a multi-year plan, but how do we start thinking about these activities and how we as Richmond and community can help support the deficit of housing in Vermont.
So I'm very glad you've come tonight. I'm very glad the Housing Committee has put this work together. The problem is, as you've just said, is no one's going to give a loan to a builder if there's no water and sewer. And as somebody who was on the Water and Sewer Committee, when we tried to extend out to the gateway, the funding formula that we were required to use, charging people along the route a prorated percentage based on their grand list value, made it just, there was no way people were going to have to get no economic benefit of the water line because they already had septic, and they were going to have to pay $15,000 a year for the privilege. There's no way that would work. So I'm very excited about CHIP. It's just that there's a lot of people competing for that money. And nonetheless, if we want to even come close to reaching that goal that CCRPC has set for us, we've got to do everything we can. So I just, what do we have going? But I know Keith is overburdened right now because there's only one of him, but are we exploring filing a CHIP application at this time?
I don't think we are.
Okay, that would be one thing, obviously, I think we should look at. I don't think CHIP is going to pay for us to run water all the way to the gateway, but there might be extensions perhaps along Cochrane Road, or I don't know where. We'd have to look at the town plan. Where does the town plan want this to go? But you don't get money that you don't apply for.
Yeah, I think some of the efforts that we talked about tonight here are also like, how do we prepare ourselves to then take advantage of the next opportunity for funding, right? Like having a plan for the gateway, right? And what does that include? That's another step to say, hey, yeah, the community of Richmond has thought about how they want to continue to develop and has a plan in place, and that's again more likely that that's going to happen because we've thought about it. Right.
Yeah, Bard quick, and then Denise.
Yeah, so I just wanted to follow up on the water sewer. So it clearly is an obstacle, a lot of things here. Since the Water Sewer Commission has primary authority over water sewer, I got to have a similar conversation with the Water Sewer Commission. And I'll just quickly revisit the numbers. What we ran into around the gateway is many people thought it was a good idea that somebody else should pay for. So who's the somebody else? The federal government was not particularly interested beyond the Regional Northern Borders grant to a developer, not the town. It was specifically based on the development. The bylaws as written are consciously intended to protect the current users who are demonstrably lower income than the rest of the town from paying for the development of people who have more money and making it more affordable for them. And it's hard to get your head around that, but the actual users of the current water sewer system have some of the higher rates in the state. They're about to go up substantially because of improvements to the wastewater treatment system, as well as some flood mitigation things. So what we've run into on the Water Sewer Commission is the current users are not really enthusiastic about finding other ways to raise their rates, whatever that means. And so that's where it's been stuck, because it's a modest number of users, not in a situation where they're either enthusiastic or in many cases able to subsidize expansion into other areas. And then you're right, the developers, they find it a burden, but then you get stuck in this circle. If it's not the developers and it's not the current users, is it the rest of the town? What we've heard from the rest of the town is they were not particularly interested in paying for things like the water tank. So we end up in this circle. And just remind people that in terms of state and federal funding, whatever happens to that under the current and future administrations, the town of Richmond is not a low-income town. So when you look at what's going on in terms of funding, a lot of those funding criteria are really focused on lower income, replacing decrepit systems, serving like mobile home parks, things like that. So that's a long-winded way of introducing the topic that I think should be engaged with the Water Sewer Commission itself. Hopefully that's helpful. But thanks for putting this together as well, because I think it is really useful.
Denise.
First, kudos to your presentation. It was amazing. The question I have, and I'm going back 10, 20 years, so help me remember somebody, but Champlain Housing Trust, and I'd have to look back, but I don't know if they borrowed money from the town, or we got the money and we loaned it to Champlain Housing Trust. They have to pay it back. It was due already. And once we said, I believe, and correct me, like I said, I have to go back and look, but we let them borrow it a little longer. But there's a chunk of money at the project down by the rescue, all those buildings, that's Champlain Housing Trust. And Champlain Housing Trust owes the town of Richmond monies. And I think it's a pretty substantial. Why don't we say we want it back so we can move forward and do other projects? And even if we have to put it in one of the funds that you're starting, a seed account, we do that for other housing projects. I mean, does anybody remember how much they owe us?
I believe it's $200,000. They had an interest forgiving agreement that expired, I think, in 2014. And I did not vote to continue that, but it was voted to continue that interest forgiving for another 15 years. Well, 15 years plus 15 years is 30 years, which equals the end of the amortization depreciation table. So I suspect when it's due, they're going to leave and that money will be left owed by the new owner.
Do you think they'll sell that whole area down there?
Because they'll lose all the tax breaks at year 30.
And when is year 30?
Trying to look that up right now, Denise.
Oh, okay.
2014
know where it
plus 15, so
27 and a half year depreciation on that too. It wouldn't be 30.
So 2027, are we thinking?
Pretty soon in any event.
yeah, probably.
So let's see, it says, the note that I have in the town report is in August 2014, the select board agreed to a 15-year deferral of principal and to date accrued interest until March of 2029. The mortgage remains secured by deed on the real property.
So it's even sooner than I thought. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I think, assuming that that's accurate, I think it is.
So residential will be 27 and a half and commercial's 25-year depreciation period. So whatever, that's probably why it's earlier than.
Yeah, I think so the note was $300,000, March 9th, 1999. 2.5% with principal and interest payments deferred until March 31st, 2014, and then the whole thing deferred until March 2029. I mean, I do remember we talked with them 3 years ago, because it was a similar idea. And just, I mean, I'm not saying I agree with this point of view, but the person who came from the Champlain Housing Trust says a lot of times these are more like grants and loans, because if they had to pay them back, then the cost of the rents and everything else goes up, because they have to cover the cost of paying that back. So it's a bit of a complicated process, as I understand.
When that project was built, it was
a revolving
gorgeous.
loan.
And I go through there once a month and they have let them go so horrifically. It's sad when you drive through there now. It's really sad.
The thing that I thought was distasteful was in 2014, I asked to see their financials and they came with pie charts and they were showing the IRS depreciation loss as revenue loss. I said, no, that's not what it is. You're getting a tax break on that. Oh, no, we're losing money. And they insulted me and they made claims down in Montpelier about how, because of what I said, Richmond was anti-affordable housing. I was just talking about their numbers.
Well, when we were talking housing at Browns Court, I had spoke to the state housing gentleman, Carol, I can't remember his name, first name, but he was saying Richmond has a lot of affording housing, and I hear I've lived here all my life, and he's like, that's affordable housing there, Denise, that's affordable housing there. I'm like, oh, didn't know that. So I was shocked at actually how much we had And he had some great statistics and stuff I had learned that I never had learned previously. So that was a great conversation I had with him. And, but yeah.
Go to Morgan.
I thank you. I just, this is really just an add-on to what Bard was saying about, you know, that a Water and Sewer Commission cannot sort of make the rest of the town, or should not. It's just written that the rest of the users will not pay for the extension or expansion of that. But maybe I think that's getting the cart in front of the horse in the sense, certainly for the gateway, which is you're going to have to get everybody on board out there to figure out what they want, because about, I'm going to say close to 50% of that line is along a corridor that's not developable. You cannot develop it. So you've got this sunk cost of, for water and sewer, maybe $2 million right there just to get it to the first property that is developable. And then thereafter, and I remember there were a number of individual property owners there that were not responding to our request, or did not want to see the town spend the money. So that's my 2 cents. Is you need to start there before we go down this path of even trying to raise money for a project that people may not want out there, or could throw up legal barriers. So just a comment there.
Any comments? Questions?
Well,
No, thank you. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You started first.
Thank you for putting this together. This is great. I think I need to dig in a little bit more and learn some more about the recommendations that you've put out there and what we can do. And I think we've already started to discuss a little bit some of the best paths, and there's more discussion to be had, and so we can do something.
And I'd like to explore getting some filing going for CHIP. Just, you know, like I said, you don't get money you don't apply for. Also, Virginia has her hand up.
Virginia?
Yeah, so just to add to the discussion about the water and sewer, you know, one of the things that the Housing Committee debated at great length was the fact that there are a small number of users on this system. So the way the regulation is currently set up, there will always be a small number of users on the system. So this is kind of a paradox. You know, the small number of users shouldn't be required to pay for the extension. However, the small number of users will always remain small unless there is a way to expand the system and extend the line. So I'm just wondering if the Water and Sewer Commission shouldn't take this on as something in their spare time. I know they had a lot of other issues to talk about, but to talk about this situation, you know, how is it going to be possible to have more users if we never allow there to be more users? So just a question. Seems like something the Water and Sewer Commission should be talking about.
Virginia, you're right, and we are, but we keep coming back to the same problem of we can't find an affordable bridge to bring more users on that's financially feasible.
I would add, I'm not sure it's accurate to say that the Water Sewer Commission won't allow. What the current bylaws say, as I think you're capturing, is the expansions, and this bylaw has been in existence for decades, the extensions have to be paid by those who benefit from the extensions. And so if that's insurmountable, then because they can't afford it, then who's left to pay for it? Is it the current users? When we did crude math the last time, it was like a very hefty increase in water and sewer rates that might lead to reduced rates 10 or 20 or 30 years into the future because the cost of extension was so high. And so maybe there's a sweet spot. I would just say the Water Sewer Commission has talked about this probably more than any other topic, with the exception now of possibly the water treatment plant, the wastewater treatment plant. So there may be a solution there, but I think it's not for want of wanting a solution. It's for want of finding a solution that works for the parties involved. I don't know if that makes sense.
So, I mean, one question is, the bylaws were written by the select board, by the Water and Sewer Commission. I mean, the bylaws are not set in stone. Is that correct? Is that not correct? I mean, the bylaws, if a pathway were to be found, the bylaws could be altered. Is that
Yeah, I'm not
correct?
sure what you mean about the path. So I personally, as member of both the Select Board, Water Sewer Commission, can't picture changing the bylaws to allow either of those groups to compel the existing users to pay for a $2 million expansion because some 10 or 20 years down the road has the promise of reducing rates. Typically, those sorts of expenses go to the town-wide vote. But again, I think we're also perhaps missing that we already have some of the highest rates in the state, and they're about to go up again. And I appreciate your point about economy of scale. It's just that if it were a $10,000 problem, I think it would be easy to change the bylaws. We'll pay for it. It will pay for itself. I think before we change the bylaws, what's the pro forma or business model that shows that the investment will pay for itself in near term, medium term, and long term? Looking at the age of many of the people on the current public water sewer system in Richmond, many of them are retired and on fixed incomes. I'm hard pressed to say they benefit from reduced rates 30 years from now if they're 75 years old today, as just one example. But I think we should have the conversations about what the opportunities are, and if there's a model that shows that the investment benefits everybody, including the new users and the current users, that's the sweet spot that I think we look for.
Yeah, and so if that were the case, or if funding could be found elsewhere, I mean, I don't know what kind of investigations have been made into other sources of funding, external sources of funding, not the users, then it would be possible, in fact, to change the bylaws. The bylaws are not the final negative, you know, understandably, you
I think
don't
we're
want
gonna
to.
have to get you guys to hash this out. Yep.
All right,
A little bit.
very good. Well,
Thank you, Virginia.
thank you for thinking about it anyway.
Thank you for the presentation.
Yep. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Great. Moving on, we have an update on the status of the Town Center Committee. Formerly the Town Center and Library Committee. Do you want to give an update, Josh, or?
Sure, let's.
Or I guess would one of the members like to give an update?
Josh can give it.
Okay,
They can fill in as needed.
sure. So,
Actually, Mike, you can come up.
at the last meeting, the Town Center Committee decided to suspend all future meetings of the Town Center Building and Campus Committee unless reactivated by the Select Board. The meeting minutes are included in the packet. The committee also made recommendations for 2 contractors for the Town Center, one to focus on more day-to-day maintenance and one to focus on longer-term projects. Deputy Town Manager Duncan Wardwell has checked the references of each contractor, and we expect to present the recommendations to the Select Board at the November 3rd meeting.
And Mike and Bard, feel free to jump in. We sort of felt that the initial task given to the committee had been fulfilled. We gave our consideration on the 2 bids, or the 4 bids that we received for the 2 positions, and we're ready to be called upon again if needed.
Bard, do you have anything to add? Mike? Better microphone up here.
Mike Stores, as a member of the Town Center and Building and Campus Committee, I think her name is now. At the meeting earlier this month, I suggested that we suspend all future meetings of the committee. Since the committee was reformed after the bond vote failed and everybody resigned back in March of last year, we've had a lot of talk and not much action. We really haven't accomplished very much. I think the major accomplishment that we've done in that time is to recommend hiring 2 professional groups to basically do the work that I think we were originally appointed to do. So we're at that point now. Right now, we have a committee. We've recently had 2 resignations and 2 new people coming on. The 2 new people coming on are members of this board. Of the 2 members that have been here a while, we have pretty different ideas of how we should be progressing from this point. And with that, I don't see that being resolved. And with that, I see that the 2 select board members are the ones, if we were to take a vote, are going to have to basically be in the position of making those decisions. And I think it's much more efficient for them to just express their permissions in this room than for us. I think we would, if we were to continue on, we would be more of an impediment to progress than an asset. And I think it's best that we just step back and let them take over. Personally, I hope to continue to be somewhat involved with the process, but I think unfortunately it has to be as a private community member rather than a part of any representative of the town.
Thanks, Mike.
The prior formation of the committee did all the heavy lifting in identifying the deficiencies in this building and the potential problems that need to be worked through. Bard and I did a lot of listening. But like Mike alluded to, the future is sort of not clear. My personal opinion is flood mitigation needs to be one of the primary concerns to be addressed going forward. But I'm not an engineer.
Bard, do you have anything to add? Looks like no. I know that Duncan was doing reference checks on the 2 recommended contractors, and those weren't quite wrapped up by today. So it sounds like at next meeting we'll have reference checks and consideration of those.
I do agree with David that the flood mitigation is, if not one of the most important, the most consequential, and that it affects a lot of other parts of the thing. And I did vote on one of the we voted for the one that we recommended. However, with some reservations, I really thought that the other one had a better response in there as far as the flood did. However, I was convinced that there were other attributes that this one did that overread that. And we did put some words in our response to you to take a close look at what they were really, what their capabilities really were, and what their expertise or experience really was. And I think we can still ask them questions after they
I hope so.
come back. So that's what it. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Anything else? And so we'll follow up on this next meeting.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you for everyone that's been part of the committee and all the work that you've done, and looking forward to hearing about the contractors next meeting.
Next on to G, an update on the Southview Stormwater 3-acre permit. Josh, touch on this.
So yeah, the big announcement, I guess, is that the state has extended the deadline for communities with permit obtainment assistance award to submit the notice of intent to March 1st, 2026. So that was the grant that we got that was going to pay for some of the initial engineering and the permit fees to $20,000 in permit fees, $30,000 in engineering, the original direction was that we had to have a notice of intent in by October 1st. I think it was October 1st, but they've extended that now till March 1st. We still are in the situation though of needing to figure out a way to have people kind of home permittees with the homeowners in Southview. But without a homeowners association co-permittee seems a bit of a stretch. We have most recently discussed a special assessment district, gone over some options for how we could get to that. I did receive recently an email from Paige from the Southview area with about 15 different questions on it that I'm starting to try to answer. That I agree they would all need to know answers to those questions as far as like cost and some contingencies on if cost ran over, or how would maintenance be handled, or what happens in 30 years when we have to replace these things, or 50 years. So I'm going to explore some of those, or all the questions, and be back probably at the next meeting with an update, with at least some, if not all, questions, and we can try to get moving.
Anyone else have anything? Make a quick note, Caitlin has stepped into the audience. Recused herself. We're not taking a vote, so she didn't.
Yeah, it's just an update.
Just to be clear.
Just to maintain. Not have that conflict. Anyone have anything else, or? We'll follow up again. Paige, anything?
I guess I could just update that I remotely, right, no, I wasn't able to attend remotely because I was on the road for work, but I went to the Stormwater Utility Study Commission meeting. And there is a video that you can watch. It was pretty interesting. So with that, there's sort of a lot of unknowns, that this could change dramatically based on what they recommend, and their recommendation is not due till 2027. So it's kind of baffling to me why the state did this date of March 1st, because it's prior to other deadlines of things they have to do. So disappointing.
The only thing I could think of on the date question is that this is ARPA money, so there might be some federal deadlines for obligations that they have to meet, so they may not have as much flexibility on that date as other dates.
Yeah.
It's sort of an educated guess, so.
Yeah, thanks, and sorry to give you so many questions.
No, they're all good questions.
Yeah, and I didn't want you to send letters out asking for a vote without sort of.
No, I'd rather have questions in advance as much as possible, so
Yeah.
thank you.
Do you have any timeline when you think you'll be looking for sending those, or hoping to send those letters out, or?
I think we would need to answer those questions, come back to the select board, make sure that the board is comfortable with those next steps. I mean, if things move lightning quickly, I'd say within a month, if we had all those questions answered in 2 weeks, and we'll probably need to get the form drafted by the attorney, so a month would be very fast, so probably a little longer than that.
And you probably don't know this, but you know, the biggest question for me is like, if we submit this and accept the grant funds, like, are you get into the construction? Like, what if they change this whole thing and say, oh, we don't have these we're not gonna do 3 acre sites anymore, we're gonna do this stormwater utility.
Was that one of the questions that you put in?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay.
No, it's a good question, because you're right, if the whole thing changes, yeah.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I'll keep it short because the beginning of the meeting, it's a complaint. All right, thank you.
Moving on to H, consideration of setting a hearing to amend the traffic ordinance. So is this, go ahead, Josh, you want to give us a synopsis of this, or is this related to the parking discussion previously?
Yep, let me pull this up, just so I can get to the right page. It came up right away. So at the last meeting, we talked about a few changes to parking in the traffic ordinance, specifically over on the Dugway Road area of town. There were some ideas as far as higher ticket fines, or maybe different signage configurations that the board wanted to give to the parking advisory committee to discuss. I understand that they've got that on a future meeting in the next couple of weeks, maybe early November. So they'll come back with some recommendations on that. I think as long as the board takes action on those, or any proposed changes by, like I said, like February-ish, you get it in place, you get ordinance changes in place by the time the spring rolls around and the parking starts to get a little bit busier over there. But what we wanted to do was see if we wanted to set a hearing for some of the things that were not really related directly to that parking in that area. One was to, and you can see it's popping up here, let me increase that font size. Give authority to the highway department to post signs prohibiting parking vehicles during and at a parade. So that's a bit of like a sort of housekeeping issue, so it's not always falling on the police. Give authority to certified law enforcement officers, Richmond Constable, Richmond Highway Foreman, and Assistant Foreman to authorize the removal of cars that are parked against this ordinance. So that's really looking at wintertime plowing. So if we need to get something out of the way, a vehicle out of the way for plowing, Pete or one of his assistant can call in and get that moved without having to involve law enforcement, which could be at 4 a.m. if they need to get something moved. And then also remove the portion that basically says that the select board has to set the towing rates. In practice, the tow companies set those rates when they come to tow, and we've got a few different tow companies that we work with. So wanted to see if we wanted to take care of some of those things sooner. If we did that, we have to wait 2 meetings to get it properly warned, but it would go into place in mid-January. So it wouldn't cover the entire winter, but it would give Pete some flexibility for the second half of the winter.
Yeah. Caitlin, I moved to set a hearing date of Monday, November 17th, 2025 to consider amendments to the traffic ordinance.
Adam, this is David. I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Calling it to a vote.
Caitlin, I.
David, I.
Jay, aye.
Bart, aye.
Adam, aye. Great. So this is the first of a few revisions. We'll have some more later on, probably later in 2026. It sounds like
Yeah,
early 2026.
yeah, I think so. For some review and some more recommendations.
So we'll get the non controversial ones out of the way first. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Ones that require a little bit less like due diligence and research by the committee.
Moving on to I, we have a review of an updated pay grid for the police department, and then we have a possible executive session to discuss some labor negotiation implications for that.
Yeah, so I guess maybe I'll give it an overview. So there was a discussion at, I think, the last couple of meetings, last meeting in particular, when Interim Chief Cohen presented his police department stabilization plan, which focused heavily on recruitment and retention of police officers. And one way to do that is to consider increasing the pay scale for those officers. Typically, this would have to be bargained with the union, it's a collective bargaining agreement. However, we're in a unique position where we have no active bargaining unit members. We have one police officer, Interim Chief Cohen, who's been promoted to become interim chief. And during his time as interim chief, he is not allowed to participate in union activities as a bargaining unit member. So we're left in a position where we have no members to bargain with. The town stance when this happened last spring was that, well, if we don't have anybody to bargain with, we can't continue negotiations on the amendment of the agreement as a whole, which was due at the end of that year. So we're back to that same position right now, where typically you would have to, open negotiations to bargain with the members, even to increase wages. We don't have anybody to bargain with. So checked in with our attorney, like how do we deal with a situation like this? It's a bit unique. His suggestion was to not have public discussion about something that would be a change to the agreement, go into the executive session, have that discussion, and then we can follow up with the union after those discussions, but not to discuss those changes in public until we've had a chance to notify the union of any potential changes that the board might like to make.
Okay.
Bard?
I'm in the position of having what could at least be perceived as a conflict of interest, given that I know somebody pretty well who has applied for a position as an officer in Richmond, so I'm going to recuse myself from that conversation in executive session for at least tonight.
Great, thank you.
Understood. All right, Adam, this is Caitlin. I move to find that premature public knowledge about discussion of wages for Richmond employees in the New England Police Benevolent Association Union would cause the town or person to suffer a substantial disadvantage.
Adam, this is David. I'll second.
Motion and a second. Calling it to a vote.
Caitlin, I.
David, I.
Jay, aye.
Bart, abstain.
Adam, aye.
I move to, this is Caitlin, I move that we enter into executive session to discuss wages for Richmond employees in the New England Police Benevolent Association Union under the provisions of one VSA 313A1B of the Vermont statutes.
Adam, this is David. I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Going to a vote?
Caitlin, I.
David, I.
Jay, I.
Bard abstain.
Adam, I. We are good session. So we are back because in our motion, we did not include in the motion to invite Josh and Officer Cohen into the executive session. So we are going to redo these motions.
Just the second one.
Just amend it.
Just
the
the
second
second one.
All right, so I moved that we enter into executive session to discuss wages for Richmond employees in New England Police Benevolent Association Union under the provision of one VSA 313A1B of the Vermont statutes and invite Town Manager Josh Arneson and Interim Chief Officer Cohen into executive session, and Duke, the dog.
This is David. I'll second.
Motion and a second. Calling to a vote?
Caitlin, I.
David, I.
Jay, I.
Bard abstain.
Adam, I. We'll be back.
Thanks.
All right, we are out of executive session and I think we're gonna move on to K. Consideration of approving the use of funds from the fire department safety equipment and gear reserve to fund the purchase of new bunker coats, the chief and assistant chief. I can go over this. Yes, we have two new chiefs. We have a new fire chief and a new assistant chief. Their gear is pretty specific and measured and custom made to fit. So they're not the cheapest to get, but they are a kind of, especially in a chief role where they're not usually going into buildings. These are a lifetime purchase. So buy it for life kind of thing. I think that, I don't know if the cost for it was a total cost 4,000.
Total cost is 4,000 for both jackets.
Yeah.
And
We would buy 2 custom jackets. The reason they're getting new jackets is because they are now wearing white jackets as they are chiefs. That's an important detail.
Yep.
Any questions? Ideas? Anything you want to add?
just that it's coming before the board because the request is to spend out of the reserve fund for the fire department safety equipment and gear reserve fund, which purchases out of that have to be approved by the select board.
Adam, this is David. I move to approve the use.
And to go up just before you made the motion. So.
Elise?
Just a quick clarifying question. Is it because of their new positions and they need new, titles on their coats, or is there a reason besides
when they're
the
promoted to
custom?
chief, they get white coats when they're chiefs. All the chiefs have white jackets, so they need new white jackets as opposed to like the standard duck
Did
yellow
Chief
colored.
Levesque, he was the assistant chief before, right?
Yeah, I don't. I think there's a reason to replace his. I think his is outdated.
It might be, I don't
It's
know.
been the assistant chief for enough years that his is out of date, is my
Thought
understanding.
these were lifetime jackets.
Yeah.
These are lifetime jackets.
Is the color, can I ask another question? Sorry.
Yep.
Is the color coding for a reason? Like is it like to say like, okay, I can easily see in a room who is the chief?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a universal color coding for fire departments so that if you're on site with other departments, you can tell who the chiefs are.
They have
Okay.
some white helmets, which would be
Gotcha.
different than everyone else's. So that part's standardized. The other helmets are not entirely standardized across departments, but white helmets and jackets for chiefs are standardized nationally.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Bard?
I actually was just going to ask you to explain the color coding, so it's moot.
Adam, this is David. I move to approve the use of $4,000 from the fire department safety equipment and gear reserve fund to purchase 2 new bunker coats for the chief and the assistant chief.
This is Caitlin, I'll second.
Any discussion? Calling to a vote.
Caitlin, I.
David, I.
Jay, I.
Bard, aye.
Adam, I. Next we're going to review, Richmond Risk Rescue's FY 26 Q1 report. Which is,
It's included in the packet. I think one of my big takeaways was it seemed like it had a fairly active backcountry rescue the past 3 months. So thankful that they're well trained and able to do that. To evaluate ambulance service to Richmond and other communities.
yeah, I'd just like to add that it's great that they continue to provide us these statistics in a timely manner.
Yeah.
Quarterly without being prompted. Yeah. Anyone have any questions?
No, sir.
On to approval of minutes. The minutes from the 9:15 meeting to approve still. We went over these last time and I wanted to wait for you to be here, Jay. Wanted to make some little more detailed explanation of the interaction between you and Kara, but want to do it in a respectful, thoughtful way. So kind of wanted, you
just put Jay was a huge jerk.
Well, I want to be respectful though. We don't want to.
Well, I was a huge jerk.
Yeah. So I mean, but realistically, like, to be accurate, but also be respectful and not. What are you?
At this point, I don't care if you spare my feelings. You're welcome to say verbatim. Jay snapped irrationally and told Kara that she was not welcome to comment, et cetera, et cetera. I think it should be historically correct. I have no interest whatsoever in sweeping this under the rug.
Sure. What do you guys think? How do we word this so that it's accurate but not? Generally, they're a high level view of minutes, so getting too in the weeds with it would be out of the ordinary. So let's get
Well, the current minutes said there was an argument, and that doesn't really address what the argument was. You could say Kara objected to the chair's decision to move on to the next agenda item, claiming that the first agenda item had not been warned as an statement only, which it actually had been. The agenda said this would be a statement. And the chair objected to her comment, said if she doesn't like the decision, she could sue us, then said she was desperate for it. She craved attention, I think, for my words. And
I would say, why don't we say there was an interaction between Levanti and the chair made a
very poorly advised comment.
Urgent comment.
That's good.
It escalated.
It escalated.
And the select board took a break.
Select board took a break.
Does that sound fair and accurate? I don't want to be unfair about it.
Be unfair.
No, we don't be unfair about it. We want to.
Well, no, I mean,
we also live up to like our best.
Well, we don't want to bury this. We just want to leave it for what it was and move on.
We don't want to make it bigger too by doing that. Right. So,
yeah,
be accurate. What do you think, Caitlin?
I think, Jay, you said it well the first time, but I'm not remembering how you said it.
You basically said what you said. I wrote something up if you guys want me to read this. If this works, I just went back and watched the video, and usually we don't do like word for word in the minutes, but in this instance, it might be like the most accurate way to do it.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Sure. What I built on what Duncan had wrote. So basically it says, first stated that those letters are not from the select board nor from any part of the Richmond town government. The USPS Inspector General and local police department are investigating. First stated that the board would not be taking public comment on this agenda item. The bounty asked for a point of order stating that the agenda item was not warned and not taking public comment. First stated that the board would not be taking public comment on this and added, you can sue us later. The bounty started to reply to first comment. Fur cut her off and said, we know you love attention, you crave it, but we are going to move on. The bounty asked if the select board was going to allow this and left the room. The select board took a recess to defer the bounty's argument during the potential discussion of the statement. Filkins followed the bounty out of the room and later returned and summarized that she talked with the bounty, stating the bounty had something helpful to add to the meeting regarding the mailings and asked town staff to follow up with the bounty. During the recess, there was discussion about the conduct of the board and the public. Fur made an apology for his actions.
I think that's appropriate.
I think that's good.
Yeah, that's great.
I mean, it's accurate.
We put it 100% accurate.
Okay.
Nothing for the imagination.
I can give that to Duncan and we'll just make the amendment. So if you want to vote on the minutes as amended, we'll amend those for them.
Thank you, Josh. Thanks for putting that together.
I'll make that motion.
So I'll move the minutes of 9:15 with the amendment Josh just read.
Is Caitlin all second?
Any more discussion? Calling to a vote.
Caitlin, I.
David, I.
J.I.
Bart abstain.
Adam, I. Next we have the minutes from our previous meeting on the 6th.
Actually, may I first have a comment on, since it's vaguely topical, I have not actually made my mind up on whether I'm going to stay on the board. Because I start from the basis of having major depression, and a screw up of this nature has really weighed on me. I just was on a vacation, an expensive vacation to Greece and the Balkans, and had an absolutely miserable time because I couldn't stop thinking about it. And this has continued to weigh over my head. It's an example of I had a bad day that day and made a mistake I can never take back. But the guilt is really sticking with me. It's not the person I feel like I am. The fact that Karen and I don't always get along does not justify my actions, and I'm still weighing whether it would not be best for the community if I didn't resign. Or another option I've considered is resigning effective town meeting so that somebody could go ahead and run on that date. Normally, when somebody resigns from the select board, you appoint somebody and then they have to be elected on town meeting to finish the term. And so if I resigned effective town meeting, that would give us a chance to just start fresh right then. So I would be interested in hearing what people think about that.
I would say it's largely up to you whether you can work through this and move on, or if this is a hindrance that will bother both your ability to serve on the select board and also your mental health. Those are decisions that only you can come to.
Well,
I guess I would say, I mean, that really sucks that it weighs on you that much, Jay. I mean, we all make mistakes that weigh on us a lot, and to have, this is not the most consequential mistake that I think a lot of people in this room have made.
No, but
To have it weigh on you that's tough. So I can understand why you're weighing that, why you're kind of contemplating that. I don't really have any
well, it's
suggestions.
particularly embarrassing because while I did hear from a small number of people who took my side, and I was like, I don't want you taking my side. There were a few people who said that my hostility toward a woman was particularly damning. And I thought, wow, that's certainly not the person I want to be. I've been raising funds for breast cancer for 20 years. And now this is the impression I'm giving people around town. That's not the person I want to be. And so it is really weighing on me that the person I thought I was and the person I demonstrated myself to be couldn't be more different. So I'm going to continue to think about it, but I promise not to leave the select board hanging indefinitely because it's not fair to the
I was going
select
to say that was
board.
my next request is not just put a timeline on it, but can you try to,
Make my mind up.
within a reasonable amount of time, because I think it will make it challenging for us to move forward. Into
No,
the
I
budget.
totally agree.
I do have to say what I needed to say when you were here together, and I do think that you should watch the last meeting. There were some people that came in and spoke. And I think that, thank you for sharing that mental health is a part of all of our lives, and there are hard times during that. And I think when we're struggling with mental health, which I have before as well, we can show up in a way that we it isn't reflective of who we want to be. And it's almost like a terrible mirror that you're looking in, and you see this other person that is not you, but you can't get past that mirrored reflection. And it's really challenging, and I appreciate that. And I, no qualms to you and I as people. However, I think that mental health comes first, and that in order to look in the mirror and see the person that you want to see, it takes work to do that. And it takes, the dedication to focusing on improving that, however that looks for you and your journey. And it's of course your decision of how you'll move forward, but it's not going to change overnight. It takes work to make those significant changes that you see the person that you want to be. I don't think that you are that person overall, and that you can make the changes that you want to, but that is the person that showed up that day, and that is the person that has reacted to Kara a few times. And I will note that as a result, I don't know if this is true for anyone else, but I have noticed that Kara has not been with us in meetings, and I fear that she is no longer comfortable coming here. And I don't appreciate that was the result. But
That's a very good point.
I will say, Jay, I think it's obvious that you can be a great person, and just it's unfortunate that that person that showed up did show up in a public forum, and so that's what's visible to a lot of people. So that is challenging. I understand that. It's a lot to grapple with.
Yeah.
Elise, do you have something to say?
Yeah, I was just going to really quick. I mean, Caitlin kind of said a lot of what I was actually thinking, but I just wanted to say, like, big kudos to you for kind of being reflective on it and thinking about like what's next steps. I think, I was someone who spoke up last time saying, I wasn't sure if you should be on the select board anymore, but I think it's really nice to hear you kind of thinking through like for yourself and for your mental health and all that. And then I just had a quick question, clarifying question. So what's the rules? I'm not privy on the rules of if you gave it, but it was on town meeting day. What's the pros and cons on that? Sorry.
If Jay were to resign at any point, we would the following town meeting day, someone would have to run for election and be elected to fill the remainder of that term. So if he were to resign now, effective town meeting day, that would keep us a 5-member board until town meeting day, and then that would allow someone to run a campaign and be elected for the remainder of his term, to take that over when he resigned on town meeting day. So it kind of
Without making somebody appointed incumbent and giving that person necessarily an advantage. That's sometimes the reason people would do that. And frankly, it's not really a good reason to do it. If I'm going to resign, I could pick New Year's Day just as easily. I need to give it a little more seasoning time, as Bard's fond of saying, but I do know that I have to make a decision. And I also know that it would be appropriate for me to reach out to Kara. I doubt she would take my call, but I don't want her to feel uncomfortable coming to meetings because she is a citizen of this town and she is somebody whose point of view is as welcome as any others.
Yeah, and just to sign off on that, I think again, mental health is really important and it takes a long time and a lot of hard work to get to a place where you can see someone that you want to see, and that doesn't mean that you're not a good person.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
Angela.
Angela?
Good evening. Let me state for the record, I am Kara LaBounty's sister, so that it's clear that my statement is biased from the start because of that. Jay, this is not the first time that I have witnessed you attack someone during select board meeting proceedings. I want to encourage you to take the time you need to address your mental health issues. This doesn't mean that it's going to be forever. At this time, while you are struggling to be the person you want to be, it's okay to step away from the responsibilities of the select board and heal. You can always run again in the future.
I don't think I would. As I was telling somebody recently, part of the reason I ran for a full term is I was appointed to complete Cody Quattroci's term, and was appointed to it, served for 6 months, was elected to continue the term. And then I think I ran again, mainly so I could say I'd won a term in my own right. And looking back, I really wish I hadn't. I can see right now why a lot of people run for one term and then don't run again, because it's very stressful. You get more criticism than you get thanks. There's a term that you'll sometimes hear called the fishbowl effect. The fishbowl effect is something that affects anybody in public life, not just select board members. The mistakes you make will be magnified. The good deeds you do will be overlooked. And if you can't take that, you shouldn't be in public life.
Again, Jay, this is your mental health.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate what you're sharing, Angela.
I voted for you, and you ran unopposed. I don't normally check a box when there's no choice. And I want you to be the best person you can be. And if it means putting your mental health ahead of this community, I can respect that.
Okay, well, I appreciate your sharing that. And I appreciate the opinions of everybody who's spoken tonight.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Jay. Thanks, everyone. Let's move on to the second round of minutes. Did we approve those?
Not yet.
I can't remember if I moved the minutes of.
No, we hadn't.
October 6th. They're not.
I don't think we moved them yet.
I will move the minutes of October 6th.
Does Caitlin want a second?
Motion and a second. Any discussion? These are easy ones. I'm calling it to a vote.
Caitlin, I.
David, I.
Abstain.
Bart, aye.
Adam, I. I'm gonna do.
There's no purchase order, so you
There's
just
nothing.
need,
Just.
you need warrants.
Oh, right. So,
This is David. I move to approve the warrants as presented.
perfect.
Caitlin, I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Calling it to a vote.
Caitlin, I.
David, I.
Jay, aye.
Bart, aye.
Adam, I. We have no POs either, right? So, what do we want to do for next meeting? Any items we think we're going to have in the next meeting?
Before we close, I just want to say I'm really proud of how this meeting went tonight. We had community members come in and give us the capstone presentation on the Browns Court project, the pickle court project. We had a very unfortunate incident that this board went through that we were able to civilly, thoughtfully talk through tonight. In this age of finger pointing and accusations and hostility and anger and temper, I think tonight is something that we should recognize and be proud of.
I would say that just all I would add to that is that the housing committee having a thorough.
That was
big report
very
is
impressive.
huge for us. I mean, that's really, of all the things we do tonight, that's gonna be the one that's kind of forward looking and setting their community up for success in the future.
And that's one that I very much hope we can take action on.
Yeah.
Obviously, some parts that are outside our control, but the parts that are within our control, we've been kicking this down the road for a long time.
Hopefully we can pull some levers that we actually have.
You know,
Yes.
and some of those levers are new.
Yeah. So the next meeting, on that note, speaking of,
Their follow-ups are from this meeting at all? I'm looking at them.
Well,
we
that's
continue this-
Southview, obviously, the 15 questions. If we can get that.
We should have Southview, at least an update on
Update on
those, I
Southview.
think.
the ethics, we're gonna let that ride for a month about, you wanna do that, or, I mean, what's our,
Yeah, we're gonna check back in a month and see where we're at.
I think we give that a month.
For reminders.
Yeah.
Yeah, and get with the chairs.
Yeah.
And-
Just late night visits to people's houses.
Would it be possible, just, I think we had talked about this, to get breakdown of people that are statutorily required to complete it versus
Yeah.
not, so we can.
I made some notes.
I don't think we'll do one other way.
Sure, we can do that. I mean, I will say though that in our policy, it's sound
true.
and made it for everybody,
We can't.
but we can try to parse that out. I'll see.
Okay. I guess just a.
That, but the November 2nd meeting.
Sorry, I know we said each month we could do that. I almost think we should have each meeting an update if it's an important thing, just a quick,
5 minute.
Yeah.
Let's make that the first item in everyone, so everyone's
Yeah.
here.
so that we just keep talking about it and catch the audience.
We'll do 1, 2, 3, and 4 before we get into the. And we'll make it one of the. Ethics policy.
Yeah, I hope to have the speed hump discussion on Huntington Road. I haven't had a chance to get the mailing out, hopefully that next couple days to the residents in that area, and then we should be able to do that in the next day.
I had a few interesting thing that a few people have brought up to me too, that I think we should discuss. You know, I kind of laid out some, like, I wouldn't call them rules because rules are formal, like guidelines for running the meetings. And, a few people have brought up, I think one person, I think it was Marshall, was reading the minutes of some town in the middle of nowhere. And, on their agenda, they have the guidelines printed out. Just so that when you look at it, you kind of know the expectations going into the meeting.
Cool.
And I don't know if there's a reason we can't do that. We should talk about it before we do it, obviously, in an open, in a public meeting.
Yeah, for what it's worth, the Heinsberg Select Board has a much more structured. They have a period for comment and that period is finite in length, and when it's over, it's over. And they really do focus on hearing the select board itself speak. I think almost to a point where they're a little too limiting, but it's just evidence that you don't have to do it a particular way.
There's a middle ground there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I think there's some cues we can take from that without going quite that limiting. I don't want to.
Well, I think you did a very good job tonight on the couple occasions where you did have to kind of say a little too far. You did it very gentlemanly.
Yeah.
Instead of just like I would have done, say, shut up.
Something I've always
I
done.
get that in my system at work, Jed. It's the benefit of construction city.
Something I've always done, it hasn't really been a formal rule, but if a lot of people want to speak, I'll make sure everybody who hasn't spoken but wants to speak gets a chance to speak before somebody has a second chance to speak.
Yeah, that was one of the things I articulated. I don't know how you'd articulate that and put it on an agenda. But I mean, that having 2 minutes for comment, and I still think it's prudent, but where we're at now, to have only requested public comment during our discussions of motions.
I have a suggestion that just popped into my head. I was thinking about saying, Caitlin, could you ask Perplexity? And then I thought, well, we don't have to do that because we can ask local minutes.
Yeah.
We can ask local minutes to say, well, what other towns do?
What?
And say, do they have?
I guess we're getting into the weeds on this, actually.
Yeah, should we put it as an agenda item?
Let's put it as an agenda.
Yeah.
But that's something we could look at.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Cool. Anything else?
I
Sure, it'll
don't think
fill up.
It always does.
Yeah.
So moved.
Caitlin, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. We are adjourned.